Okay, it's time for Jerry and the Goddesses, part 24. Again, no real trigger warnings for this part. Uh, well, maybe discussion of an instance of infant mortality. I don't know if that needs a trigger warning. Anyway, if it did need one, now you've got one. So, trust me, it's still a pretty sweet part, though. People seem to really like this one. Here we go. Oh my god, he's so adorable! I blinked. What? I said. Oh, isn't he just the sweetest thing? He's like a octopus, dog, lizard, bear, spider, tiger thing, and he's so licky. Lick, 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 lick. I gaped in astonishment at Kathy as she rubbed and scratched vigorously at Ixie's various tentacles, appendages, and flanks, delight written plainly on her face. Ixie seemed every bit as enthusiastic and had managed to cover all of Kathy's exposed skin in a thin layer of glistening slobber, half a dozen tongues frantically flailing about for flesh to caress. It wasn't really the fact that she found him cute and oddly cuddly that astonished me, because the truth is that Ixie is the biggest sweetheart in the world and literally loves nothing more than giving and receiving of physical affection. Even Gary had warmed up to him after a while and had been known to give Ixie some scritchies from time to time. No, the astonishing part was the fact that they had literally just met. And I hadn't even properly introduced Kathy to him. He just immediately saw her and pounced. Now that made my heart leap into my throat, because Ixie pouncing on someone usually meant they were about to be messily devoured. But no fangs were in evidence, only tongues. Kathy had quickly regained her feet and squealed in delight as the eldritch abomination tried to turn figure eights between her legs, and only succeeded in continually knocking her off balance as it twisted and turned in affection, mewling and whining in a puppy-like display. I had expected Kathy to take a while to warm up to Ixie, but boy was I wrong. Oh, you're such a sweet thing, all legs and tentacles and love, aren't you? After 10 minutes of showing Ixie the affection he seemed to crave insatiably from everyone he had imprinted on, she turned back to me. I can't believe you didn't think I could handle meeting him before now. Yeah, well, I mean, Gary screamed like a little girl the first time he met Ixie, and I'm pretty sure the last time I brought him to the park at night for a game of fetch, he gave an older gentleman a heart attack just by running past him. I mean, I'd literally pissed my pants when I first met him. I know he's scary looking, but he's just so sweet. She reached an arm back to rub him some more as she said it. The smell isn't bothering you? I asked. No, it's no worse than a bear or a lion, really. Ixie realized his moment in the spotlight was over, so he rolled over to me, plopping down at my feet and turning a dozen eyes up at me in a transparent plea for more scritchies. I knelt down and obliged him. He really was a sweetie. I looked back at the others, variously sitting or standing around our rented Range Rover, parked off the side of the road from Addis Ababa to Lalabella. They'd agreed to send Kathy and I out into the hills a few hundred meters to introduce her to Ixie so that he wouldn't be overwhelmed with all the others around. Now the precaution seemed a bit silly. I don't know what it was he saw in Kathy, but he absolutely adored her. He was even more affectionate with her than he was with Sarissa, who'd been a solid second-place runner-up for the title of Ixie's favorite person behind me. Now I wasn't so sure I was the clear winner anymore. My eyes lingered on Inanna a bit. Both her and Sarissa were back to their usual nudity, but something about the way she looked in the bright African sunlight was even more appealing than usual. Not in, like, a horny way, like I wanted to cuddle her. I decided to let Gary drive for a bit and take a seat next to Inanna in the back. If she wanted to get handsy with me, that was fine. So there's something you should be aware of, I said, turning back to Kathy. She smiled at me, which was a surprisingly welcome sight. She hadn't been doing a lot of smiling since she joined our little merry band. I was happy that Ixie could have an effect like this on her. He tended to have a very different effect on people, gibbering terror. Ixie really likes you. I mean, a lot. Until now, he's only ever really been this affectionate with me, so I suspect he's going to treat you a lot like how he treats me in other regards. So you'll need to be careful about raising your voice to people. Ixie is a bit of a stalker. He'll vanish completely, no sign of him, and then when something happens that catches his interest, bam, he's there. because he tends to hide in like a different dimension or something. I'm not quite sure how it works, but he's almost always watching. So yelling and screaming at someone, especially if you're really angry, is a really good way to get them killed in a frankly horrific way. Because Ixie can be very protective. Even if you're not at full volume, being very angry with a person can easily result in Ixie paying them a visit later that night. Also, he likes to watch me sleep, so if you hear what sounds like a cross between your stomach rumbling and a grizzly bear growling at you late at night, and you can't pinpoint where it's coming from, that's just Ixie keeping an eye on you. He's a very loyal boy. I gave him some more rubbing, and he obligingly produced the very sound I had just mentioned. Kathy's smile faded, and she zoned out a bit, staring at him. So if I'd known Ixie the night before those cultists took me, she trailed off. Yeah, I said soberly. Your rescue would have come much sooner, been much bloodier, and would have likely spawned a dozen new urban legends if anyone survived, which would be unlikely. She came over and knelt down to pet Ixie some more. So how did you find him? He kind of found me. What do you mean? Okay, where to start? I guess she needed the context, so I braced myself and explained. Okay, well, you remember Anana's pronouncement at the restaurant the night before our flight out? How could I forget? I've never felt so uncomfortable in my life. Yeah, you and me both sometimes, I muttered under my breath, then continued louder. Well, in addition to being the goddess of sex, she's also kind of, well, not kind of, she's literally my girlfriend. So you know, we do it a lot. And she can be very demanding and intimidating. Look, what I'm saying is that I love her to death, but she scares the crap out of me a lot. You know, goddess of sex and all. There's performance anxiety, which gets ramped up to 11 because who the hell could judge me worse than she can? But then there's also the sheer weirdness of the things she can do. She can, like, change her body and stuff. And, Jerry, seriously, I don't want to know about your love life. If there's a point, please skip to it. Oh, God, I'm sorry, you're right. I'm just such an idiot sometimes. Anyways, the point is that Inanna terrifies me at the same time that she, turns me on. And terror and lust are both very, very primal feelings. And Ixie is a primordial god, one of the first. A god of our pre-human ancestors who hadn't yet fully evolved into humans. You mean like Neanderthals? No, no, no. Neanderthals were human, just a different species of them. They were just as smart as we are. I mean like Australopithecus afarensis, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, stuff like that. Not early humans, but pre-humans. Oh, wow. So he's really old then. Yeah, at least a couple million years. So your feelings when you were with Inanna, they attracted him? Yeah, that's the working theory. The mix of terror and lust got his attention, much like a deliberate sacrifice got Sarissa and Inanna's attention.